perspective, because you're very open to say you've been burned in many different ones. So why don't you tell everyone your background and your story, but then what kept you attracted to the industry and why you were open to look at Nu Skin eventually?
Okay. Thanks everyone for having me, and it's a privilege to be up here. I came from two separate backgrounds. One was with corporate America. I was with AT&T for 10 years. Went through 5 layoffs in 10 years, saw the uncertainty of putting my hopes of my retirement in really in the hopes of the stock market that it possibly will be doing good the next 20 years. Didn't want that. I wanted to own my own life, started my own small businesses. I had 2 that really controlled me. I created myself a job and I was my own worst boss. I worked constantly, 12, 15 hours a day, never saw my wife, never saw my kids, and that was an issue for me. So I got introduced to the industry actually in my early 20s. Had 3 pretty bad experiences. My first one, I signed up, an e-commerce company, and never heard from anybody again. I was like, man, this stinks. I don't know what I'm doing. Spent a bunch of money, gone. The second one was more like an online education type company, and even though I saw that trend happening, it was a once-a-year purchase. So I learned the valuable lesson of having to need a consumable product, or you needed a lot of new people. And all these were startup companies. And my third one, I knew the people putting it together. I knew the founders. And back then I thought, man, this is going to be great. I was the third person in the whole company. I'm like, shoot, man, this thing's going to be built under me. I'm going to be done. Well, we saw some growth, and my entrepreneurial head got in the way too, because they were still raising capital for the company when I got approached by it. The problem was, not only were we the third distributor, but we invested 25 grand in the company. Needless to say, a year and a half later, they made some bad decisions, couldn't control growth, and they were gone. And one day, their phones were off. And the hardest lesson of that was our friends coming to us saying, what the heck? What'd you get us involved in? Where's the company? What happened? Because our word was everything, and that's what really aggravated us about the industry. And so the funny part, I don't even know if I told Rebecca about this, the person that recruited me, or actually introduced me into Nu Skin, one was the founder of that company that went out of business, and another was one of the ladies that was a decision maker in that company. And so it took them guts to pick up that call, because I was not exactly thrilled to hear from them again after losing all that money. But I was still open to the industry because I always saw the leverage. I love the business model. I didn't trust the companies to make the right decisions. So when I got introduced to Nu Skin, I couldn't give a rip about the product. I wanted to know about the company and the money, if it was real. And with the company being publicly traded, I could do all my own due diligence. I was smart enough not to do some random Google search of Nu Skin, because I'd never heard of them. But I was able to really dig in, see the validation, because we are transparent, and that was everything to me.
Awesome. I love what you said about transparency, and I've made that point to many people, and it's very eye-opening when you ask someone, do you know what publicly traded means? And most of the time the answer is no. And I was an auditor in my previous career out of college, so I had a job out of college because of public companies. So I like public companies. But so off of that, I know your wife was not supportive. So I know there's many people that don't have a supportive spouse when they first start. So how did you go about that with Vanessa in the beginning?
Well, quickly, our background, we started dating when we were 15, married at 20. We've been together a long time, and she's given me enough rope throughout the years to kind of let me run a little bit. So anyway, when I approached her with Nu Skin, that was not a great conversation. She was like, are you kidding me? Did you not remember everything we've already went through in the past? And I really vetted the company. I did it just like some of our real estate deals we did. I was looking for the reason of finding the reason why not. I couldn't find it. And so I finally got to a point where I said, look, I'm going to do this. I need my life back. I need time back. And she goes, fine, if you're going to do it, you go do it. But don't ask me to do anything. Don't ask me to make a phone call. Don't ask me to, talk to any of our friends, any of our church friends, my business associates. I was allowed to go talk to then. And so I started doing that, and it really got to a point where I was making $2 or $3 grand every month, where she finally opened her eyes. The checks were clearing the bank, right? They were getting deposited. That was good. And so there was a lot of things like that where the company became real. And honestly, finally, when she was open, I sent her out to Team Elite University. I sent her to an event, and she came back, walked through the labs, talked to the scientists. She came back transformed. She was like, this company's for real. Let's do it together. And now we've been on the journey ever since. Wow.